Hello, this is the Name Pending Podcast. Today we'll talk about things. Brandon, what are we talking about?
We're gonna start off and talk about Hillary's email server. Also, it just popped up now saying we're live. I think we missed your intro.
Yeah, we're fine.
All right. Well, in the latest news comes out that Obama was using a fake name while talking to Hillary on the email server. He was using the name Abedin, which Hillary's aide Huma Abedin was on the server. Her name was like Huma at Clinton email, and Obama was using a fake name because he didn't want people knowing he was communicating with her. Like that's the whole point of using the fake name. People don't know it's you. Now, Obama told everybody else, hey, I found out about this the same time you guys did. Same thing he said about everything else, all the other scandals. But I think Armin wanted to start here and talk about some of the Hillary's lies during this whole thing.
So we just found out that Obama was part of these lies. We're going to go through a few of the lies that Hillary Clinton told. First lie, she didn't send or receive any emails that were classified at the time. Well, yes, she did. James Comey found out that there were at least 110 emails that were marked classified at the time that she sent or received them, including 52 email chains, all including the top classified, top secret classification.
And that's not even like markings aren't even like the big thing there because she's supposed to be able to make things classified. She's the Secretary of State. Like she has the same security clearance as the president, and things can be classified without saying they're classified. Like if she just got in like a call, like, "Hey, the president's landing in 4 minutes, and he's coming in through this location," that's classified information. You can't just go and tweet that, "Hey, the president's plane's flying in at this location at this exact time. He's in the third plane. Those other two in the front are decoys. He's in the third one. He's in the fourth window back in the side." You can't just say that shit.
Classification is based off of content, not the actual heading itself. Although these were actually marked classified. Second lie, she didn't send or receive any emails marked classified at the time. Well, James Comey confirmed the suspicions that Hillary Clinton's her emails were nothing but a small number of emails that were in fact marked classified. He let me see here. He even added that even if, as prefix said, even if the information isn't marked classified in the email, participants who know or should know that the subject matter is classified are still obligated to protect it. So,
Oh, her argument for that was she didn't know C meant classified, despite evidence that she used the C for classified to classify a document.
well, her defense for that is that she bumped her head so hard that she forgot her briefings on classified information.
Yep, which also isn't an argument. Like you can't violate the laws and say you didn't know.
Yeah, ignorance for the law is no excuse for the law. I didn't know the speed limit was 25 here. I thought it was 140.
Well, you're free to go. You bumped your head.
I don't know why I wouldn't be.
And
Next
another email related to that, she told one of her aides to strip the classification header off an email and send it to her when they were having issues sending it. It's
now
like,
that
oh,
that one
strip.
actually has a plausible defense. It's probably not true, but it's plausible at least.
Yeah, her defense was that, oh, we had them remove the classified information from the thing and make it not classified.
She
Like,
wanted a not classified document, meaning that it doesn't have classified information rather than just the classification header stripped off.
yep, that was her defense, which wouldn't make much sense about anything because isn't the whole reason they're sending you like the document on the secure line because the entire thing is like important information that people shouldn't know?
I'm pretty sure
Otherwise,
you're
wouldn't
not
they have
allowed
just
to like
called you?
take certain parts out of classified emails and send just that.
Yeah, they are allowed to do that, but
Are they?
You would they could. However, the problem is the person removing the classified things would also have to have security clearance, and they'd have to make sure that none of that info is going. And the whole reason that they're communicating to the Secretary of State is because she has the security clearance, so they're trying to get the classified information to her. Like otherwise, why would they need
Has to
her?
remove the headers.
Well, removing the headers you can only do if you're removing the classified information.
Well, who did she ask to do that? Was that Huma?
Uh, it wasn't Huma. It was, I think it was actually redacted name on the FBI document.
Do they know if that person had a what's called a security clearance for that?
I'm not sure if they did, but I know that Huma did not and Cheryl Mills did not, and both of
Neither
them
did her
handled
lawyers.
her information.
Neither did her lawyers, who also handled her information.
Yep. Her lawyers have all like literally committed like several laws while like just during this investigation and nobody's cared. Like they should be disbarred. And I'm not sure if people know a lot about being disbarred as a lawyer, but you actually don't even have to be found guilty of a crime in a criminal court to be disbarred. Like if they just find like you having unethical behavior, they can disbar you.
All right, you want to go on to the next one?
That she turned over all of her work related emails.
Are you gonna take that or me?
I was just gonna finish chewing.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
she handed over like 30,000 emails or whatever, and then she like deleted another like 30 something thousand, and then she said that they were all like yoga emails and emailing with her husband, which was funny because that same week her husband was on TV talking about like email. He said, "Yeah, I've only sent 2 emails in my entire life." So probably wasn't really emailing her husband that much. And
She might have been sending him emails, and he only replied twice. That's fully plausible.
yep, that is true.
So either she's lying or she's crazy or both. I'm gonna go with both.
So then they found that a bunch of her emails she's deleted and didn't turn over. They've recovered some of them and they've found work related emails. Which also, even if she did turn these over, these things were never supposed to be on her server. The second she gets something printed on her server, she has to immediately make copies of that and get them into the government computers for the Federal Records Keeping Act and to like comply with Freedom of Information Act requests, which also she was violating both of, but nobody really cares about that.
Yeah, and just in case like anyone didn't know, the Freedom of Information Act is where you can go down to like I'm pretty sure is that there isn't a separate office for that. It's just like your town hall, right?
Uh, I'm not sure where you put the requests through, but I know it cost a lot of money to get them.
I don't think it costs a lot of money. I think it might cost money for like certain emails, but like a lot of them, I don't think it does.
It's like $20,000, I think, for them.
Anyway, like if you want to see what Hillary Clinton is emailing about on her official email, you can put in a Freedom of Information Act, and as long as there isn't classified email or classified information on the email, they'll have to give you that email, or they can be assholes and just wait for.
Well, you have to give them a scope of like what the thing is. So like say we're looking for emails that Obama sent to Bill Clinton about fucking an underage prostitute in the White House, and they'd have to go through the little records of them communicating and being like, we found four emails where Bill Clinton was saying he was fucking an underage male prostitute in the Oval Office. If those records existed, they'd have to give them over.
Yeah. All right. Live four. Oh, we'll do this at the end. You want to just go to like live five and call it good there?
Sure.
All right, live four. She wanted to use her personal email account for the convenience and simplicity, streamlining it to one device. Now that makes sense on like the surface. See, if everything I had to do was on this this tablet here, that'd be perfectly fine. It's very convenient. I don't have to pull out like other things. But she was found using multiple devices for her emails and for like
13
everything that she had.
Blackberries.
So it's
13
not
Blackberries. Also, about her devices, you know, she was refusing the government issued Blackberries and was buying older, outdated models on eBay. Literally from eBay. She literally bought them on eBay.
And why did she buy the older models?
Because the government's the government software didn't work on the older models.
Hmm. Okay.
But oh well, that's speculation. We don't know. Maybe she liked the old models. Maybe she liked something about them.
Yeah, could be.
And that those Blackberries were also smashed with hammers during the investigation.
We'll talk about that later after the next one. But the next lie, well, here, let's go over the truth. Clinton, she already used multiple servers, administrators, and mobile devices, including an iPad and a BlackBerry to access her email.
13 Blackberries and
13
multiple
BlackBerries
iPads.
and multiple iPads. So it's not her claim is completely false. She didn't streamline it to one device, and I'm pretty sure that's illegal, even if she did.
Yep, it
So,
would be.
so not only is it wrong, but it's also illegal. Just putting that out there.
It's also illegal to use any of those devices because she is supposed to use her government issued BlackBerry, which was smashed with a hammer.
All right, and lie five. Clinton's use of a private email server and domain was permitted by law. Her defense is that other people have been doing it, but that's not an excuse.
And
And
it's not true.
yeah, it's not true either. And she also said like someone would inform me of this that what I'm doing is illegal, and no one did. Well, a lot of people didn't. Who said that that was illegal? And like they said, just keep going.
Colin Powell
Yeah.
said something about that, but also some of the people that were on her staff raised questions to some people of the State Department, and they were told to shut up. And Hillary's staff told them that she was okayed to do it. Which, if you're lying and saying that you're okayed to do something after somebody says, "Isn't this wrong?" I believe that that alone is enough to prove intent, and you don't even need to prove intent in this case.
Yeah,
But Comey says you would.
he says like it's only been done once without proving intent, and I forget what the case was that they did that on.
That's also not true. There's been people who've been charged without intent, but the problem is the proving intent. Like, how do you define intent? Like, there's this person who left their records in their office, and they got charged with violating some of those laws, and then they pled guilty. There's also a famous person, Petraeus, who was he was communicating with like this person he was sleeping with, and he showed her like his like day planner and shit, and that had like some classified information in it, showing her his day planner and keeping it in an insecure location, which was in his desk drawer or something. That was enough to put him like 1 year in prison because he got like a nice deal. You know, he gets charged with that, and yes, he did kind of intend to show it to that one person, but Hillary's shown it to many people. Like, how are you defining intent as you meant to break the law? Because I don't think Petraeus like meant to break the law, but like he did do something wrong, and Hillary like knew her whole thing was wrong as well. She was covering it up.
And so I'm gonna build off of that, but kind of give Stefan Molyneux credit for this. He did an episode where he was talking about like proving intent for criminal action, and he gave this example. If you go into a store and you see a display stand that you like, you take it, you know, you put it under your arm, you walk just straight out the door. You wave goodbye to the clerk. There's a cop outside. You ask him, "Hey, how's it going?" And as you're putting it in your trunk, if you were to take that person to court, it'd be pretty obvious that they didn't know that that was illegal or that they're crazy or something. They didn't have the intent of breaking the law, but if the person goes in and says, "Hey, I want this candy bar," they look around, see like if there's cameras around. They grab it, stuff it in their pocket. They walk out pretty quick. They see an officer and they start running away when he tells them to stop. That's some intent. You tried to cover it up. Otherwise, why would you cover it up if you didn't know it was wrong? You obviously knew it was wrong, so you tried to cover it up. You ran away when the police tried to question you. You hid it from the store clerk. You were being shifty about it. That's enough to prove that you're intentionally doing something wrong. Now, going with the part about the running away from the police officer, that could be construed as trying to hide the evidence or trying to escape. So, the recent thing with Hillary Clinton's emails is that she used like a hammer to break her BlackBerries and use BleachBit, which is a software that deletes like all your things beyond recovery from like your server. And you probably know more about that than I do. Prefix, you want to go on with that?
When you delete something on your computer, it doesn't actually delete it. It marks it for deletion. Now, what BleachBit does is it'll just overwrite all the blank spaces with like just zeros, like for data, just all zeros, and it'll overwrite it like 50 times or any infinite times. There's free software which even does that. I think CCleaner actually can do that as well. Like it says white free space, and if you do that, you can't recover anything. But if you just delete a file, there's software which can recover it because it's not actually deleted.
So basically, like if I have this here and I say, "Hey, I need this space later. Let's delete this." Basically, it's deleted now. It's not there. You can't get to it unless you say, "Oops, I actually needed that. Let's recover it with this software," and it's recovered. But what happens is, say I don't have any more space in my room and I need this space here for this water bottle. Then what would happen is this actually gets deleted by this water bottle, and the water bottle takes its place. But it's not fully deleted until you actually fill it over with something. And even if you do it sometimes, you can still recover it a few times if you like fill it with other information. It's still possible to recover.
Yeah, you can get fragments of the file because nothing's going to fit the exact things. And sometimes you can't recover. Sometimes you can just overwrite things by accident. Like let's say I just downloaded a bunch of stuff and kept deleting stuff, and I was browsing the internet. Maybe sometimes my cache would be overwriting that spot on my hard drive that I deleted previously, so it's making it unrecoverable. But the chances of like all the files being gone, unless you do BleachBit, you're going to be able to recover most of them. Also, the BleachBit thing is completely illegal.
What BleachBit does is it takes this space that you mark for deletion and then it replaces it with the water bottle. Then half of it's gone, say just arbitrary numbers here, half of it's gone, puts the water bottle over it again, and then a little more, and a little more, and a little more, until eventually it's completely gone, replaced by the water bottle, which then that's marked for deletion, and that gets deleted easily.
I also want to talk about the Stone Tier guy. The Stone Tier was that's his Reddit name. His name is Paul Gambetta. He was Hillary's IT guy, and he was given immunity by the FBI, one of the many people to receive immunity, which is pretty funny because he's admitted that after being subpoenaed for the record of the server, he deleted the backups of her server and used BleachBit after they were already subpoenaed to hand over the records. So like he had a backup of her records that even if she wiped, he still had them, and he wiped them after. Now, the big thing that came out recently is people found his Reddit account, and he was like asking people for help on like, hey, how do I edit specific emails from these things? There's a very important person that like wants me to remove just this person's emails from a whole chain. Like they were asking things that were like basically saying like, hey, how do I cover this up? this is confirmed to be Hillary's IT guy. Like this is actually his Reddit,
Yeah, it's not
and he
speculation.
and the time frame does fit as well with the whole thing. And if you delete records during investigation, even if these were non-work related emails, like what Hillary did, that's against the law. Like when you're subpoenaed for records, you hand them over. Now he has somewhat of a little bit of a leeway here because he could have said he wasn't aware of the subpoena because the subpoena wasn't issued to him, except for he threw that away because he admitted that he knew about the subpoena and that the people told him that he needed to get rid of it. Like he admitted that even though he could have had plausible deniability, as the subpoena was issued to Hillary's people, which it would be on them to hand over the things. And I'm just going to tell you this: if you're in a case, even a civil case where you're being sued by a company and they subpoena some records and you delete records and then you say that the record didn't have to do with what they're claiming, you're going to jail. That's a huge crime to delete those records. Not
Yeah,
just a civil thing
or
anymore.
you're actually supposed to assume that they were incriminating records if they're deleted.
Yeah. Like they're actually instructed to do that, to draw a
There's a
negative
legal term for
inference.
that. The like
Inference.
you have to what's the legal term for like you have to preserve
It's inference. You have
no,
to, you're
no, not
supposed to
that.
do it.
Not that. It's the legal term for like when you get a subpoena, you have to preserve all the records that are relevant.
Oh, I forget the term for that.
All right. Well, oh well. You got anything else you want to add to that before we move on?
One last little tidbit. If you delete any records during investigation, it's actually like in our laws that it disqualifies you from ever holding public office, just deleting the records during any investigation.
Is that really in the law?
Yeah, I don't know if I could find it right now.
Is that like a constitutional thing or is that
Uh,
a
it's not a constitutional thing. It's in uh I think this is it right here. Or I'll send you the link right here. Uh, 18 U.S. Law Code 2071, concealment, removal, or mutilation generally, whereas any such record preceding map, book, document, paper, willingly and unlawfully conceals, removes, mutilates, obliterates, falsifies, or destroys the same shall be fined under this title of imprisonment for no more than 3 years or both, and shall forfeit his office and be disqualified from holding any office under the United States. As used in this subsection, the term office does not include the office held by any person as a retired officer of the armed forces. So other than the military, you're no longer allowed to hold public office. So like a government job that isn't related to the military,
so you're
you
still allowed
couldn't
to be
hold
like a
one.
general and shit?
Uh, I don't know because it says as a retired officer, so I think it would just be
Okay.
that you would keep your rank, maybe. Like you could be a retired general, you don't lose your rank.
I was
I'm
gonna
not
say
really sure.
because the president is a military position. It's commander in chief.
Well, yes,
Technically, you still can be, but no, that doesn't work, I guess.
that's not an officer of the armed forces, though. Like
Okay.
I don't think that would count, but this does disqualify Hillary from holding any office. Like she can't even work at the post office. She's
Wait,
literally not
is
allowed to
that
work at the post office.
is that like a legitimate role of the government that you can't be a part of if you break that?
Well, that is I would probably assume that would be under the thing of holding office. I think that'd be any, like I would assume that they're referring to any government position, not just like a politician.
So we can literally say that she's not qualified to work at the post office, much less be president, and not be hyperbole.
That is correct.
That makes me very happy. All right, you want to move on to the estate tax?
Sure. It also doesn't say federal, so it's like she couldn't even run for like city council. So Hillary Clinton came out with a new plan. She wants to raise the estate tax to 65%, while her and her friends are all like, getting all these good loopholes and stuff in her laws. So like, if you can afford these $1 million attorneys, you're not really paying the estate tax. But you know what the estate tax really hurts? Small businesses and farmers, because you inherit your father's business, you have to pay 65% of the value of that. You basically have to sell that business because you're paying 65% of that. Then when you sell it, you're going to have to be taxed on that 35% profit you get after selling the business
That's if
again.
you can get someone to buy it for the full price, for the full market value.
Yeah. Well, I would assume that your estate taxes, if you sold it for less, then you would claim that you took less on the estate.
Okay,
Like
can you
you
do
could
that?
you could prob I think that they give you some leeway, like the same way if you're, if they give you a $10,000 car and you tried to like tell you like mark down your papers, well, it was used on valuing at $7,000 or something. I'm pretty sure that there's wiggle room in there. I'm not sure the exact specifics, but like I would assume that there's wiggle room there.
Fill in this spot. I have a video I'm looking for.
All right. So now with that estate tax thing about the stores, I also want to talk about the farmers. The farmers are hurt even more than small businesses because they're the ones who have all this equipment, which is hard to sell as well, and it's worth a lot because when you have a farm, basically you're just paying payments on your equipment like the whole time. You either rent it or you buy it, and you just pay things forever. And if you rent it, you'll be paying less through the whole time, but then you won't have the equipment at the end. Now, you're going to go ahead, give your farm to your kids, all your equipment, they're going to have to sell that equipment to pay off the estate tax. They're not going to be able to manage the farm without the equipment. So now they're just having land that they have to keep paying taxes on the land for. Basically, like, it's like the stupidest thing ever. It only affects like small businesses and farmers, and the big businesses can just get away with shit because they have all the tax attorneys to like find all the loopholes. A small business that's worth like $500,000, what are they gonna do? Spend $200,000 on a lawyer to try to figure out how to save like some of the money? They don't have enough money to make it profitable to hire the attorneys. Like maybe the attorneys might save them $20,000, but you're not going to be able to pay off your attorneys there. And then on the other hand, Trump released a new plan, his like child care plan and things like maternity leave and shit. And I'm not a big fan of that. I will say that like encouraging families and stuff is not the worst thing the government does. Like they do things that I hate more, but like paying off their child leave and stuff, it is it is causing a problem. We already have a lot of single mothers in America. Like a lot of women just don't even get married when they have kids now. Like that's like people aren't getting married. People used to like you get somebody knocked up, you're gonna marry them, you work with them. Now they just, oh, I'm just gonna break up with him or whatever. I'm gonna have the kid, and I'm just gonna get money from the government, and I'm gonna take time off from work, and I get all my maternity leave and all that stuff. So basically, it's just like encouraging more of that. But like there are probably some cases where this does help the right people, and I don't think that it's right to take money from other people to do this, because if those people like actually needed help, there are like there are services and stuff that do things for people. There are a lot of charities in my area that help families and single parents and stuff that are not government. I see you have a video there.
Yes. So I kind of muted you during the search for this video, but you got it all out of your system. You good to go?
Yeah, I talked about the child care plan, so you missed that.
Okay. All right, here we go. This is a video from Milton Friedman about the redistribution of the wealth and the inheritance tax or the death tax. I'll just go ahead and play that.
I like that. I've seen it.
Kind of people who become successful capitalists do not become that way by giving away their wealth voluntarily. Isn't it necessary to forcibly redistribute wealth before you can begin to operate under a capitalist system?
No, it is not. The only way in which you can redistribute effectively the wealth is by destroying the incentives to have wealth. And the question is, what is the way, what is the system which will offer those people who are so unlucky as to be born without good positions, what is the system which will offer them the greatest opportunity?
Well, one possible way of redistributing wealth without affecting the incentives to earn as much income as possible is simply to have a 100% inheritance tax.
But
Since
that
that
will
won't
not-
affect the incentives, it's only after the person
I
is
beg
dead
your,
anyway.
I beg your pardon. You're too, I'm afraid, I don't know the family you come from. I don't, but as you grow up, you will discover that this is really a family society and not an individual society. We tend to talk about an individualist society, but it really isn't. It's a family society. And the greatest incentives of all, the incentives that have really driven people on, have largely been the incentives of family creation, of family pursuing, of establishing their families on a decent system. What is the effect of 100% inheritance tax? The percent of 100% inheritance tax is to encourage people to dissipate their wealth in high living.
What's the harm in
live
that?
The harm in that is that where do you get the factories? Where do you get the machines? Where do you get the capital investment? Where do you get the incentive to improve technology? If what you're doing is to establish a society in which the incentive is for people to, if they by accident accumulate some wealth, to waste it in frivolous entertainment. You know, the thing is that the thing that is amazing that people don't really recognize is the extent to which the market system has, in fact, encouraged people and enabled people to work hard and sacrifice in what I must confess I often regard as an irrational way for the benefit of their children. One of the most curious things to me in observation is that almost all people value the utility which their children will get from consumption higher than they value their own. Here are parents who have every reason to expect that their children will have a higher income than they ever had. And they scrimp and save in order to be able to leave something for their children. I think you are sort of like a bull in a china shop if you talk about the 100% inheritance tax having no incentive effect. It would destroy a continuing society. It would destroy a society.
All right, that was Milton Friedman on the inheritance tax, showing how if you think about it, just off face value, if we take all your money when you're dead, that's not an incentive for you to like make less money or change the ways you make the money. It's just that you can't have it after you're dead, and it's no good to you after you're dead. But the incentive is with passing on that wealth. If you can't pass on that wealth, there's no reason for you to try to ensure that your children have a better future than you, because there's nothing you can do. All the money you're going to give to them is taken away. Best thing you can do is teach them how to live frivolously, like you did.
Yep, like, hey, I saved up a bunch of money. Now I'm old. I'm gonna spend it all on blackjack and hookers.
And there's no reason to invent something. There's no reason to make a machine, make a business if you're gonna lose all the wealth as soon as you die. The reason a lot of people will try to make wealth is because they want to pass it on to their kids, so their kids have like an easier time in life rather than just them spending it all on blackjack and hookers, as Prefix said.
I think I also wanted to talk about some of the happenings lately in New York and New Jersey and all this shit.
Okay, and we're moving on from that topic.
All right.
Good.
So a lot of people know there were some
Wait,
bombs that
before
went.
you do, did you talk about the Trump child care plan?
Yeah, that's what I did when you were gone.
Okay, go ahead.
So, oh, I did want to say before we get onto this, there's a lot of people trying to get James Comey to resign now. But honestly, even if he resigns, it's gonna change nothing. Like he's already given immunity to all these people, and whoever's in next would also do the same thing. They'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna give immunity to all Hillary's aides."
There was a theory someone put forward that he's not actually saying like there's no good reason to prosecute Hillary Clinton, rather that it's useless to try to do it now, and it'd be better to do it when Trump takes office, because then the Justice Department won't just say, oh, no.
Well, the problem with that is one, Trump wouldn't want to do that. Even if he says he would now, it would be really bad optics for his campaign to throw his fucking opposition in prison. Even if she murdered a baby on live TV, it would still make Trump look bad that, oh, he threw his opponent in jail. So he wouldn't really give a shit about it.
I think if he wanted to do that, he'd probably do it, regardless of how that made him look. Like, he hasn't been one to pull punches.
But they also gave immunity to like all of her aides and stuff. And here's one thing they did with Cheryl Mills: they gave her immunity, then let her sit in on Hillary Clinton's like interviews to like listen to all of Hillary's answers and stuff that she gave, and like was also a witness to different things on the investigation. Now, a witness getting immunity, aren't immunity deals pretty much only given when you're testifying against something? Like, hey, I did something bad and I'll testify the guy at the top and you get me immune. Isn't that the whole point of an immunity deal?
Who was the guy that didn't show up even though he had immunity?
That was one of them was the Stone Tier guy, but I think he actually showed up and pled the fifth. The other guy didn't show up at all. I think you're referring to Pagliano.
Yeah, Pagliano.
He did two things. One, he didn't show up because his excuse was like, I have only limited immunity, so I might say something that can incriminate myself. And two, they said, well, you still have to show up, and if you want, you can plead the fifth. And two, okay, we're subpoenaing that your agreement for immunity with the FBI, and he didn't turn that over. He did after, but not in time. He violated the subpoena, and he like should have been held in contempt by not showing up when he was subpoenaed to show, and he just didn't.
I was actually watching the Senate hearing about that. There was some argument whether he had full immunity or limited immunity. Which do we know now which one he had?
Well, it's limited to her investigation, so it's technically limited. But like the only thing it wouldn't cover, like Trey Gowdy even said back then that like the only thing that like he wouldn't have immunity for is if he told a false statement. And that's what that's why the Democrats don't want him in there. Like there are people like Cummings who are like, he doesn't have to show up. That's his constitutional rights. Like that's not what the Constitution says. Like the Fifth Amendment is you don't have to incriminate yourself. It doesn't mean that if you're subpoenaed to show up that you don't have to show up. But if they ask you, hey, did you murder this guy? Then you don't have to answer. You can say, I plead the fifth. That's what the thing is. And if you make an immunity deal about something that you're saying like, hey, I have immunity to this thing, typically that means you wouldn't really be able to plead the fifth because you have immunity on that. You couldn't be prosecuted about it.
Okay, and you wanted to talk about the happenings in New York?
Yep. So a lot of people know that in New York and New Jersey, there were a couple bombs that went off, and the media said explosions happened in New York and New Jersey, and then Trump said like holy crap, there's bombs going. I don't know what he said. He said something about bombs going off. So the media was attacking Trump, saying like, you don't know it was bombs yet. These were explosions. You're rushing to judgment. And Hillary Clinton, in an interview, was also talking about the bombs. and CNN edited out the part where she said bombs and then ran a hit piece on Trump saying that he's not qualified to be president because he called it a bomb. And then like an hour later, from somebody from CNN tweeted like, we've just like found word that the explosive devices used were pressure cookers with wires. That's how they described them. A pressure cooker with wires.
Now, how do you know that that Hillary Clinton did call it a bomb if they edited it out?
There's a video of the thing, but
Okay, so it's
CNN's
still
video
somewhere else.
edited out. Yeah, you can see the unedited video, and you can see the what CNN aired. They edited out they edited out the references to multiple attacks, and they edited out the bombing. Like, so she didn't say bombs, and they edited it to make it look like it was only one attack. And some of the bombs did not go off, and here's why. Homeless people in New York tried to see, they saw the backpacks, they tried to steal them, and started removing the stuff from the backpacks and disabled the bombs trying to steal the backpacks.
And then the other one was not homeless people, but a few aspiring rappers actually got into the bags.
Yep. And in both cases, the police did find the like the bags. I think in one of them, the like the person actually was stealing the bag, looked into it, and then called the police. I don't know if they still kept the bag and ran off with it. I don't know. I didn't really follow up much on that. And then there were many more found later.
What if we found the people who stole those bags? Would we charge them?
I don't think we would. Also, you'd have to say that they stole them from somebody. What's the fucking guy who planted it? Like, yeah, I put bombs in those. I planted them. I'm pressing charges. He stole my bag.
Maybe
it was his.
Maybe.
I mean, he'd have to press charges on them.
If like no one like claims ownership, can't you?
I think if nobody's claiming ownership, I don't think they could prosecute you. Like, they might be able, like, they could charge you with it, but like, I don't think they'd win a case against you, so they'd probably just let you go because they wouldn't win a case there.
What if I break into your house and I steal your like your gold solid gold dildo with like diamonds that say your name on it? You'd be like too embarrassed to come and say like, yeah, he stole that from me, and you just said like that's not mine. I don't know whose that is. But like, if I openly say I stole this, can they still prosecute me for it?
I think they could, but like the whole problem with like cases like this is you'd have to put the person on court and be like, "Did you steal this?" That knowing it belonged to somebody else, and they could just be like, "Oh, somebody left it near the trash. I thought they were throwing it away," and the guy's not saying it's stolen, so maybe he did throw it away or something like that. Like your lawyers are gonna get you away with it. Like you'd have to admit, yeah, I fucking stole it. I'm a fucking beast. I'm the best. Like you'd have to do something like that.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to talk about with that?
They found a bunch more bombs and stuff after that they like got stopped, and during like the same time there was a mass stabbing that a retired cop shot, and he had a concealed carry permit. The area this happened was a gun-free zone, but the state that it was in, what state was it? I want to
Minnesota.
say like Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Okay, in Minnesota, what happens is when there's the gun-free zones that somebody puts up with like the gun-free zone sticker, it's not the same as a normal gun-free zone. Like if this person has a concealed carry permit, all that can happen is that the store owners can say, "Hey, I see you're concealed carrying. Like I see your holster there. I don't feel comfortable with that. You have to leave this store. Like we have a sign up that says you have to leave." And then if they ask you to leave, you have to leave. And if you don't, then the police can come remove you. It's not the same as like if you took a gun to a school zone. Like it's not the same type. So like he did violate this minor law here by concealed carrying, but it's not like the whole general gun-free zone thing. So the guy shot the guy and stopped him from stabbing people. He stabbed like 9 people, I think it was.
So the only time when it's illegal for you to violate like a gun-free zone sign is if they catch you and they tell you to leave and you refuse. And even then, it'd be a $20 fine. But I think if that does happen and like you refuse to leave, they can still charge you for like extra things like trespassing and shit.
Yeah, probably.
Or like if you're being a retard with your gun, they can charge you for like menacing if they have menacing laws in the state.
And if you went to like to a school or something, those are federal gun-free zones, which the state laws wouldn't really be able to protect you there.
Yeah, those would be under a separate classification of gun-free zone.
However, I think it would be nice though if a state did this, and a state technically has this authority. They don't have authorities to get rid of the federal laws, but they could do this. It have this as a state law. Anybody who's enforcing this federal law gets 20 years in prison, and anybody can shoot the person trying to enforce this law.
Yeah,
A
that's
state,
gonna happen.
a state technically has the ability to pass that law.
That'll never happen, though.
It does have the authority to do so, though. A state can do that.
Well, I think they could say that they can make an argument that violates the Fifth Amendment, and
They could try, but until the thing's tried until it goes up to the Supreme Court, the law would still be held up.
oh, and you know that would go to the Supreme Court pretty fast.
It probably would. But would you be wanting to be one of the police officers testing the thing? No, you'd just be like, yeah, fuck this state.
Okay, the Eighth Amendment says excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment. I'd say that's pretty excessive.
I don't think that's excessive. They're violating the Second Amendment.
I think that's a little bit excessive.
There's no definition of excessive.
There's some what's it called? There's some leeway for the judges. Prosecutorial discretion, is that it? Is that the word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
There's some discretion where they can be like, yeah, that's like blatantly against the Constitution. You're fired.
They can decide yes or no on the thing.
Yeah, I think it'd probably be considered unconstitutional and done away with pretty quickly.
Now, that guy was like a retired cop with a concealed carry permit, and he was not on duty. The media reports it as, oh, a guy in a mall. Oh, and there was no pictures of the person on any of the articles I could find at first, which definitely meant that he was definitely not a Muslim. Would have never guessed that. Like, oh, when I found that out, that was a shock to me.
Attacks. That's basically a law of terrorist attacks now. If they don't show you the picture of the guy, he's either black or Muslim.
Yep.
Gary,
So the media reports is like a cop stopped a guy that was trying to stab people in a mall, and then like eventually they started putting more information out, like, oh, the 9 people stabbed. But most outlets were just trying to say like, oh, a cop stopped a guy that was trying to stab people. They didn't say some fucking guy was screaming Allahu Akbar, stabbed 9 people, then got shot. Like that's what happened. It was a terrorist attack.
and the headline was like Muslim man shot in a mass stabbing or whatever, mass killing.
It wasn't a mass killing. I don't think many of the people died. They were just injured. But like, yeah, they're basically just saying like, oh, a Muslim gets shot in like a mall stabbing.
I think it was a Muslim man killed in terrorist attack.
It was Muslim man shot by police in a mall stabbing or something.
See, that's not like dishonest enough. I don't believe that.
They didn't say terrorist attack in it, like,
Okay.
in any of the things I could find, and it was something like it said like mall stabbing, and that's the thing that like I hate that they were just saying mall stabbing, which like be more specific. Like 9 people were stabbed, and eventually they did come out and start saying the thing once the story dies down, and that's how these things always happen. CNN will go ahead and go and edit this thing, and now you can go on CNN and probably find pictures of the guy. But when the thing first happens, CNN isn't going to put a picture out there. They're not going to tell you 9 people were stabbed or whatever the fuck it was. They're not going to do all that. But then once the story dies down, they'll go and start updating all their things. It's like, oh, we have this information now. It's like they don't want people knowing that a terrorist attack happened.
And
especially
CNN
during
will
an
also
election.
purposely lie during like stories. They'll say like a blatant lie, and then they'll correct it later and say, "Oh, we're sorry. We got this information wrong. You can find the correct information on our website." And like when the story comes out, it's going to be pretty sensational. So a lot of people are going to see that, but only a few people are going to see the correction.
Yeah, like that's the biggest thing that happened with the Mike Brown thing. CNN had like that guy that robbed the liquor store with the guy, and then like they were repeating the things he was saying and reporting them like as news, even though everybody knew, including CNN, that that guy just robbed the liquor store with Mike Brown, and like they weren't even reporting saying like these are according to this, like they were reporting it as these are the facts.
Well,
And
nowadays
later they go and correct
they're a little smarter about it. They'll say like, "This person says."
But they barely even do that, except when it's like gonna make them look good. Like what was that person that got shot recently? That his like sister went on CNN, or she didn't go on CNN, but she was shown on CNN, and it said she calls for peace, and then they show her like saying like, "Don't come down and burn our shit down to the ground. That doesn't help anybody." Now they cut off the second half of the sentence, and they lied and said she's calling for peace. The second half of the sentence was go to the suburbs, burn the white people's shit down.
She didn't say white people. She said burn they shit down.
Oh yeah, she said they shit down.
We need
But
our weaves. I don't wear it, but we need it.
she was basically telling them to go to the suburbs and destroy stuff. And CNN actually corrected their article later and was like, "Oh, we made we made a mistake. That's not a mistake. That was intentional."
Yeah, that's pretty intentional. If you cut it off the second she starts to like
And you lie about you lie and say she was calling for peace.
Yeah, it's pretty hard. Like you had to have watched the full video, otherwise that's just like irresponsible of a news source to not read the entire piece.
Well, there was a famous NBC thing at a Tea Party rally that was like I think 2012 or 2011, somewhere around there, where they went to a Tea Party rally that like people were open carrying guns, and they show a picture of some guns on a person's back, and then they go on there and they're like, "There's questions of this if this has racial overtones, or we have a black president and we have white people out protesting with guns, threatening the government." And you can go and watch the Fox or ABC news from that, and you can see the same guy being interviewed, and you don't see just his back, you see his hands and his head. The NBC or MSNBC thing showed just his back. Now, why did they show just his back? Turns out he was a black guy.
Ah, there it is.
And what was the thing over? He was protesting about health care, not about a black president. There was a CNN reporter who was even asking him questions. So, the media knew what this was.
And MSNBC or CNN? Because you said both there.
CNN was the reporter, I believe it was, but the MSNBC took like the videos from the other networks and they showed his back. MSNBC didn't do an interview with the guy, but they took the videos, cut off his hands and head, so you couldn't see anything black, so you could just see his shirt. And it was like a nice tucked in shirt, so like it was like a very like I guess white presenting black person. Like nobody would just assume the person was black or white. They would just think like, oh, that's just a guy. But then when they're saying that there's white people protesting with guns, now they're actually just slandering that man, telling him that he's a white racist, that he's protesting black people. Like you're lying about what he's saying. And there's the videos on the other networks of that. And I don't see anybody attacking MSNBC for that. And a lot of times they'll go and issue retractions, but nobody looks at the retractions. It's weeks later. Now, the media made a huge deal about Donald Trump calling the fucking explosions bombs before we knew they were bombs. And a case recently, this person had a gun, and his family member said he was in his truck reading a book, and a cop walked up and shot him. And all the media things were reporting it's been stated by eyewitnesses that the person had a book and a cop walked up and shot him, which is not true. It was a family member. All the witnesses have stated the guy had a gun, and the gun was recovered, and no book was recovered. None of the media was covering the fact that the gun was recovered. And
There was even a picture that came out that showed that he did have a gun, and the gun was on the ground.
yep. And everybody like in the media, I don't see anybody in the media saying, "Oh, we rushed to judgment and we're wrong," but Trump rushed to judgment and was right. Oh, that's bad. And if it wasn't a rush to judgment, what do you call an intentional explosion? A bombing. Isn't that basically like what you would call a bombing? If there's an explosion that somebody has targeted at people?
Yep, pretty much. I'd
And
also
then,
call a pressure cooker with wires a bomb.
yep. I also like how they said pressure cooker with wires, where they could have just said pressure cooker and just stopped the sentence there. But they added with wires because, like, in their head, they probably wrote in like a pressure cooker bomb and then click backspace. It's like, shit, I can't write bomb with wires. That's what I bet happened. Because it could have just wrote pressure cooker and it would have been, nobody would have said anything.
All right, I went ahead and gabbed this the podcast, so hopefully we get like a few more people.
Also, one thing I wanted to talk about that also happened this week. I didn't put it in our topics, but Trump pulled like a nice 4D chess move against like the media with his Obama thing. Like he said he was gonna make an announcement when somebody like asked him if he thought Obama was born in America, and he does this like long like 2 hour news conference, and like he's not even up there. He's just having a bunch of like veterans and stuff talk about things, and like the media's getting pissed because they're like covering it. It's like, where's Trump? We're waiting for Trump, and then Trump just goes up there and just says like, Obama was born in the country. Hillary started this, and I'm ending it. Because Hillary's campaign is the ones who started the birther movement. And for those who don't know, there was some 4D chess on Obama's side with the whole birther thing, because Obama did release a birth certificate. Although I think he actually released it during the 2012, it might have been versus Romney, but when they released the birth certificate, it's still on the WhiteHouse.gov. It's actually a fake birth certificate. Anybody who's here, go onto the website. You can download that birth certificate and open it into like Adobe Illustrator or whatever. It has layers you can move around. Like it's the actual source project file. Now, if Obama was trying to make a fake birth certificate, why would he do that? Unless he was trying to get people to attack that. That whole thing was trying to get people to attack him on it. Because if Obama wanted to, like, if Obama wasn't born in America and he wanted a fake birth certificate, that's easy to Photoshop. You could have done that and then just printed off like the image file. You wouldn't need a whole source file. You wouldn't need a PDF that has the layers of things if you're going to fake things. So the only reason he would have done that is if he's trying to get people to attack that, so then he can call racism on the thing. So that was like something Obama did do about the birther issue. That one reason why this issue stayed around so long is because people were attacking. Like, well, the birth certificate was fake, which yes, it definitely was. Like anybody who says that it's not fake is a liar. You can go and download the source file, but most people believe now, like Obama is born in the country, which he probably was. I think he was. And the whole thing started because on Obama's college records, he was a foreign student, which may have been a mistake, might have been intentional, who knows. But he did live abroad when he was like younger. He lived in Indonesia and stuff. So like he might have been confused or didn't know what to put. Maybe it was a mistake. Nobody knows. But that's why the whole birther movement was such a big deal with people. And all Trump did is say he wanted Obama to release his college records, which I don't think he called for birth certificate. He may have. I know a commercial that I saw with Trump asking for Obama's college records, which Obama never released either. So like that's the only thing Trump had involvement. Now Hillary's campaign actually there's emails from Sidney Blumenthal talking about spreading the birthers thing we found, and from some of her aides that have resigned over pushing the whole birther thing. We also found things from Hillary, you know, calling Bernie Sanders an atheist and sending out stuff when like he's actually a Jewish atheist, like he actually is atheist, although he actually changed his stance a few times. He said he was he said he was atheist. Then he claimed he was Jewish, and then he claimed like non-religious Jewish. So I don't know what his official thing is, but like the whole point about that was before he claimed he was like atheist or whatever, they were going out and pushing that because people won't vote for an atheist. Most people won't. Well, most people might, but they're less likely. Most people would rather vote for somebody who's religious, even if the religion's different than them. The Hillary Clinton campaign's always done this against their opponents, like in every election, but everybody's gonna blame Trump for it. You want to talk about anything?
Yeah, you want to move on to the mall shooting?
The mall shooting?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, some Hispanic man shot like
That's
four
actually
people.
wrong. It was a guy from Turkey.
Oh, it's Turkish man?
Yeah, here I'll link it to you in curse, and you can read the article I have here. It was a Turkish guy who did it. They have like his name and his mugshot.
Oh yeah, I see that. I read it on some like some site that said like a Hispanic person or whatever, but I see now. I guess now we know that it's Turkey, somebody from Turkey. So this person goes and shot four people in a mall, and I haven't heard anything about this on the news. Like this is what I'm like mad about is that there's been so many attacks lately, and I don't even understand why I'm not seeing them. Like they're not even covering them a little bit. Like if I turn on Fox or CNN or MSNBC, none of them even talk about this. Why am I not seeing this? Like I don't even care that like okay, so yeah, some Turkish guy shot four people in a mall. Like yeah, people shoot each other sometimes. That happens. But what pisses me off is that the media is like not showing any of this because it's an election year. And oh, if people see what's happening, they're gonna vote Trump. So we have to lie about what's happening, so then they won't vote Trump. So
And
like,
this guy
are
was
they
actually a
admitting
Hillary Clinton supporter.
what?
I just sent you a picture of a tweet that he put out talking about how he's going to vote for Hillary Clinton. He's actually a Hillary Clinton supporter.
From 2015 January,
Yep.
over a year and a half ago, year and 8 months ago. Yep. So that's weird though that I saw that he was Hispanic in the early news things. I don't know if that was a mistake or if that was like intentional, trying to get them to mislead people. I'm assuming that the reason they were saying Hispanic is they were gonna probably try to say that like this is what happens when Trump wants to build a wall.
Apparently, there's people who are saying like they knew this guy and that he was he'd like often like sexually harass the women like in his school. Like here's one woman who posted on Facebook like I knew this guy. Here's his name. He's a fucking degenerate. He'd grab and slap my friends and I's asses and even caress my chest along with other women. And that's a direct quote.
Was he a Muslim?
Yes, I assume so.
I'm assuming he was because like Middle Eastern and like how they were trying to paint him as Hispanic, and I'm pretty sure the motive for trying to paint him as Hispanic there was because they were going to try to say that this is what happens when Trump's preaching hate, trying to build a wall. Those Hispanics are so sensitive. If you build a wall, they're going to want to shoot you all. I guess that was their thing, and like I could only find that on just little things. I couldn't find nothing's on like the breaking thing. Nothing's on the front page of CNN. Isn't that like the whole thing about like CNN and shiz? Like they were supposed to always cover, big things. You go to their front page and you figure out, oh shit, somebody got shot today.
Here's an excerpt from this article that I'm reading. The media tried their best to paint the Cascade Mall shooter as Hispanic to hide any suggestion that it was yet again another Islamist terrorist attack. The suspect confirms the suspects on Facebook confirmed that he is from a Muslim from Turkey. So I don't know. I don't see any direct firsthand sources that say
The
he was.
suspect's Facebook account, and there's a link to it right here. His Facebook is actually still up.
Oh, does it say it on his Facebook?
Yeah, in that article you linked, it actually is a link to his Facebook.
I don't see. I don't see where.
I'm trying to click religion. Let me see. I can't see some of his stuff on there. It says no data to show.
Yeah, I don't know if he is a Muslim. There's no firsthand sources that say that he is.
But he is from Turkey.
He's from Turkey. That's 100% confirmed.
He went to Oak Harbor High School on his Facebook. So like those people from Oak Harbor High School are probably telling the truth, or they at least have reason to say that.
Yeah, I'm looking through his post. They've been around
people posted happy birthday to him.
Yeah, he's been around for a while, so I don't doubt that this is like a real account. But there's nothing on there that like says like I'm a Muslim or anything. So really, all I can go off of is just that he's from Turkey.
Yeah, he's at least like a Middle Easterner, which is the whole thing that most people would associate him with Muslim, even if he wasn't, just because of where he's from.
Yep. And all the
they're trying to hide him.
Let's see here. There's a lot of secondhand sources here, so take them with a grain of salt. But they all seem to be pretty credible. All right, you got anything else to say about that prefix?
No, I was just mad that I don't see that on the front page of Fox or CNN or anything when there's a mass shooting and everybody else just wants to talk about oh look, there's been 5 black people who got shot this week.
You wanna talk about the skit posting?
The one at the bottom.
Before that one, skit posting Skittles.
All right. So
here, I'll pull it up.
Can you bring that up?
Yeah, I'll do that. Go ahead. Let me find this here.
Yeah, we'll take a little line from Maracu here, but Donald of House Trump, the second of his name, he came up and tweeted this pretty hilarious thing, and the media's been attacking him about it. Huffington Post just had a thing saying that doesn't work because Skittles aren't people.
And that really pisses me off because that's the point of an analogy. It's not the same thing, but the same principle and the same logic are behind it.
They're not saying that the principle doesn't apply. They're saying that Skittles aren't the same as people.
Which doesn't invalidate the analogy.
What would invalidate the thing is if you're trying to say that the poisoning isn't the same as exploding the people because Muslims don't do that or something. That would be to try to discredit the analogy. If you're just saying you can't use analogies because I don't like them, that's not an argument.
And that's not a way to disprove an analogy. You have to go to the logic behind the analogy, not the analogy itself. So it doesn't matter if Muslims are Skittles or not. No one's saying they are. but the what I'm assuming is that he takes the roughly the statistics of Muslims who are radical and puts them with Muslims who aren't radical, or the Skittles that won't kill you and the Skittles that will, and asks you to take a handful from the bowl, which is like immigration. And any one of the Skittles could kill you, but there's only 3 of them. Even if it's a small number, that's still a reason not to take them into the country.
And then one other thing here is tier king. I don't know. He's so this 13-year-old gets shot by a cop. Everybody's freaking out. Oh my God, a 13-year-old shot by cops. Now, him and his friends just robbed somebody with a BB gun that looks like a real gun. After they robbed this person, like cops were getting called and stuff, and he pulled the BB gun on the cop, and the cop shot the person. Now, I'm not sure why, but everybody like in the media keeps reporting like, oh, he shot the cop with or he didn't shoot the cop, he had a BB gun and the cop shot him. Like they act like the cop knew it was a BB gun, and I don't understand like how people are like, you have to be a retard to think that that's an argument that like a cop magically knows it's a BB gun. Like as Arvin sees right there, that's a BB gun.
You can definitely tell this isn't a BB gun because it has a breakaway barrel, no magazine well. There's no charging mechanism. It's obviously not a real gun, but it looks like one. If I'm pointing this at you, you're not going to be worried about whether it's real or not. It looks damn real, so take precautions.
Another big thing they like to do, like there was a black person who had a gun that they were waving around at cops recently, and the media kept reporting things like the gun was unloaded, which I can't find any sources to say if it was or wasn't. But again, how is the cop supposed to know the gun isn't loaded?
Can you tell whether this is loaded or not?
I cannot. I'm assuming it's not because you just picked it up, but
it's not.
Yeah, I would assume that you don't just leave it loaded with BBs in your room.
Shit. Try to get a good view on there. Could you? Oh, there you go. You can see there's nothing in there.
You could tell if this airsoft gun is loaded because the magazine is in it. You can hear the rattling.
It's full though.
Well, you hear them rattling is what I mean. Like you see it and you hear them. I don't know if you can hear that through theirs.
Yeah, that one would be loaded.
Yeah, you can hear them rattling. Now
it was a handgun though, so that's a little harder to tell.
This one right here, I actually don't even know if this one's loaded.
And these are BB guns, which aren't the same, but it still proves the point. It's hard to tell. It's almost impossible to tell.
If I aim this at somebody, even though this is like plastic, nobody's even gonna realize that this is plastic. Like if I'm aiming it at them, they're not gonna be trying to figure out, is that plastic or is that metal is just not very reflective? No, they're just gonna look around and just be like, yeah, that guy's aiming a gun at me.
Yeah, you're supposed to, according to the media, take ridiculous precautions to make sure that's not a real gun or that's not loaded. First of all, check. Real gun, let's go up there. No mag well, I'm gonna say no, that's not a real gun. Is it loaded? Hey sir, can you open that up and let us see if it's loaded or not? It's loaded, we can shoot them.
Well, the no mag thing doesn't always work because there's a lot of bolt actions. There's many bolt actions which don't have magazines.
They also could be an internal magazine.
Yep. And like handguns, you wouldn't really see very often. Like like when the mag comes out of the bottom, you're not going to be able to see if the magazine's even in it.
And even if the magazine is in it, it could still be unloaded.
And even if there's no magazine in it, there could be one in the chamber.
Yep.
But the big thing about that was the cop shot the guy, but the first cop who was on the scene got suspended because he didn't shoot the guy, and that's what the people were like freaking out about. Like, oh, a cop didn't shoot a black guy and he's getting suspended. Now I support the guy being suspended, and I'm going to tell you why. The black guy in this case was waiting a gun round, and he was actually telling the cops to shoot him because I'm assuming he probably had a long criminal history and he didn't want to go back to jail, so he was just trying to do a suicide by cop thing. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, well, you're trying to give him what he wants. But in reality, this means that the guy doesn't have anything to lose and he's more dangerous. So he's going to be more likely to shoot you. Now, if the cop isn't shooting that guy and the guy's waving the gun around in public near other people and near other officers, that officer who didn't shoot is putting other people's lives at risk by not neutralizing this guy because he has the ability to.
There was a video that was popular a month ago or so about like a guy who was on the highway and he had like a knife or a gun or something. I think it was a knife, and like the cop was like telling him to put it down, and he just like kept walking towards him, and eventually like more cops came and they arrested the guy without shooting him. I think that's a pretty good way to handle the situation. Like you can tell if he's gonna lash out at someone and attack them with the knife or not easier than you can if he's just gonna pull the trigger. Like this versus running at someone with a knife in your hand is like a little bit easier to tell. So I'd understand like the differences and the nuances in that.
Yeah, guns versus knives are a lot different. Like, same thing if like somebody gets shot and they get knocked down to the ground. It's a lot easier, to hit somebody if somebody's on the ground because they've been shot once or they've been knocked down from something. If they have a knife on the ground, they're not that big of a threat. Like they can hit somebody in front of them, but it's not like they can they're not just gonna like jump up, do a backflip ninja move, and stab a guy in the neck from 50 feet away. But a guy on the ground with a gun can still shoot somebody from a ways away.
This will shoot, if we assume it's a real gun, this will shoot in a straight line no matter where I am. If I'm laying down, if I'm upside down on monkey bars, it'll shoot the same way no matter what. A knife is more restrained by your positioning.
Yeah, like if I'm on the ground and I got like a knife and it's like I'm on the ground, like I try to swing forward, I can't I'd have to get up to like actually move more than a couple feet. Like I've got my arms are not very big. I've got I don't know how long this is, like
Little
2.5 feet maybe.
Hashtag baby arms.
Yeah. I actually have like zero muscle definition too. Like you can't even see like anything. Like, you just see like a little tiny bump and like one little thing. Zero definition there.
Start doing some boxing. That'll get you some
Zero. Yep, zero definition.
Do a little boxing. I'm telling you.
Oh, I don't really care about getting into shape too much. I just mainly just trying to get rid of my like beer belly, which is like from soda, which if you actually see, like I've pretty much got it gone now. Like it's still a little bit, but like a month ago I was kind of like out like there.
And now, this is the point where I can tell that the podcast is not getting interesting. Let's finish off with the polls, and since you put that on,
to lose a few pounds.
All right. Last thing we'll do is the polls, and I'll just let you do it since you put it on there. I don't know what you want to talk about with it.
Let me go up to Real Clear again. So until recently, the four-way average and Real Clear average have been pretty close, but Trump was losing on the electorate map because there weren't too many polls. But now Trump is making huge gains in like every state now.
Colorado, New Mexico, Florida, Arizona.
Yeah. Can you open up this map right here that shows like this toss-ups one right here?
Yeah, where is it? Oh, you
I just linked it in the curse thing.
Yeah.
So New Mexico's actually should be listed as toss-up here, but I also want to talk about, while we're on polls, Real Clear Politics recently deleted all polls from New Mexico except a single one from 4 months ago, just so then Hillary would be winning New Mexico again. Trump's actually like a little bit ahead in New Mexico. And so like all these things are toss-ups now that just like a month ago they were putting at lean Dem. And if you click the no toss-up states, bring up this one, which is they're putting what they think is going to win each of these states. Now, Trump is losing Pennsylvania now. Hillary pulled ahead of him in Pennsylvania, but Trump is actually winning in Maine and New Hampshire and New Mexico now. He only has to win one of those to win, except Maine. Maine would only put him at 269 there. But he's also doing well in Colorado. Like in Colorado, he in an Emerson poll he got +4, and in a Quinnipiac one, Clinton got +2. So like they're pretty similar there. It's margin of error there. Nobody really knows, but they're basically tied. Colorado's a toss-up. The big thing about Colorado though is that's been a pretty blue state for a while, and Democrats never thought they would have to campaign there. Trump hasn't spent anything yet. Hillary spent over $100 million last month.
He's actually started spending now.
Yeah, Trump spent $5 million to Hillary's $100 million on advertising last month, and that's not counting Hillary's super PAC, just Hillary's campaign. Now, Trump does have money saved up now, and he's saving it up for October. Hillary's been spending money this whole time, and she's falling. And she's starting to spend money more rapidly now, and she's still falling. And we also have to factor in about these polls. You know how all those polls show like 5% people say like they're not voting or they don't care, something like that. Some polls put it as high as 20%. It depends how they do it. You really think all those people are saying that they're not actually going to vote? I think a lot of them are Trump supporters, and they just don't want people to know they're Trump supporters. Trump overperformed, other than Iowa, in every state during like the primaries. Like, I think there was 2 states he didn't overperform in. He overperformed in all the other ones. So everybody's like up there saying like, oh, Hillary and Trump are pretty much tied in popular vote and stuff like that. I think that all these lean blue states, a couple of them are going to flip red. And Pennsylvania, which is like the toss-up one, I don't think Pennsylvania is going to go red. And it's not because of the popular vote in Pennsylvania, but for people who don't know, in 2012, in Philadelphia, Mitt Romney got 0 votes.
In the entire city of Philadelphia, he got 0.
That's the biggest city in Pennsylvania, to my knowledge. I don't know if it's the very biggest, but I know that it's definitely up there. That's not possible for a candidate to get 0 votes in a place that big. Like, the only way for that would be with fraud. Like, in Manhattan, I'm pretty sure there's more than 0 votes for fucking Satan. I'm pretty sure people are writing in Satan on the ballot more than 0 times. And in, say, I don't know, some other big city in some other state, like, say, Chicago, I'm pretty sure, even in a heavy blue state like, or heavy blue city like Chicago, there's going to be a couple votes for somebody like, say, Mitt Romney or something. There's probably even a lot of Gary Johnson voters there. But for people to say, like, there's no election fraud and all this shit, when 0 people voted for Mitt Romney in Pennsylvania, I hated Mitt Romney. I thought he was a piece of shit. I supported him over Obama, but I don't like him. I think he's a liberal, and I think he's a liar. But 0 votes in a big city, no way, for either of the 2 major parties. That is not possible.
And you want to talk about the New Mexico polls being deleted?
I did reference that a little bit, but click go to the no toss-up map or either one of them and click New Mexico.
Yep, it's up.
All right. So this one poll now is from 5:13 to 5:15.
Which,
There
just
were,
for reference, is 4 months ago.
yep, there were polls in New Mexico that Trump pulled the lead in New Mexico, and some reason those are gone now. Who knows
It's
why?
definitely not media bias.
And I have never seen Real Clear delete a poll. Now I have seen Real Clear do this. They've been not updating a lot of polls now that Trump's been doing well. Like if you click their polls, they weren't updating like the LA Times one. They didn't put up a new Quinnipiac one when Trump gained on there. They didn't put up a CNN poll. They didn't put up the Rasmussen ones. Although now they put the Rasmussen one after they got another pro Hillary poll. Like they've been delaying the polls a lot lately when Trump pulled the lead. I have seen stuff like that. I've never seen Real Clear delete polls. But some Reddit user also informed me, I don't know if this is true because it's somebody on Reddit, but he told me that during the primaries in a few Sanders areas, they deleted a few pro Sanders polls in his state. I forget what state he said, but I would honestly believe that now because that's something I wouldn't expect Real Clear Politics to do. Also about New Mexico, that's where Gary fuck my wife Johnson was governor, and he likes to claim that he was some libertarian governor. He more than doubled the debt. He didn't like do shit. He didn't cut spending. He didn't cut taxes. He didn't do like anything libertarian. Like he vetoed a bunch of bills, so like he probably was less bad than like some other person, but
Hey,
he didn't
prefix.
do a fancy job.
Hey, prefix.
What?
They're back to using likely voters for most of them. There's only one that's registered voters.
Nice. I think Clinton's plus 2.3 because of a Marist poll that put her plus 6. They still haven't updated a lot of the polls though. Like I see the Routers one up there now, and I see Rasmussen.
This is the latest one, which is from it started on the 17th. Or no, this one is the 18th here.
I'm looking at the
Economist.
four-way one right here, and I see Clinton plus 2.3. Are you on the four? I can't see your thing here.
I'm on the two-way one. I'll go ahead and pull up.
Click the four-way one.
Give me a sec here. Real Clear is pretty slow. All right, four-way with Johnson and Stein.
Yeah.
You got
They did update the Routers and Rasmussen now, but they didn't put them up before. It still doesn't have the LA Times poll, and they have the old Quinnipiac poll still. I see they don't have the new Quinnipiac one that put Trump up.
also Routers is complete garbage for polling.
Yeah, they did actually change the only difference between this poll and their other one is they like took away their old thing. What they used to do, if you said you weren't voting for either candidate, they were counting those as Hillary voters because that's how you do polling now. Instead of putting neither voter, they were also doing a bunch of shenanigans about different weighting. Like they were waiting for Dem plus 10, which is ridiculous.
Their average was like 9.4 Dem.
Yeah, so like plus 9.4, not 10. Don't want to slander them. Now the whole thing there is when you do weighting in a poll, you're supposed to weight it plus 4 Dem, and you may get plus 4 Dem in your results, so you don't have to do any weighting. They were waiting for like plus 10 if they got plus 4 still. The plus 4 thing is the reason they do Dem plus 4 is because in 2012, 4% more people identified as Democrats than Republicans, and then there's the independents. Mitt Romney actually won the independents in 2012, but not by a big enough margin to win because a lot of the conservatives stayed home because they didn't like Mitt Romney. So Dems had a higher than normal turnout. And the weighting is something that's kind of, you do kind of need to weight polls because if you got Republican plus 10 on your poll, that's not going to be accurate. You kind of have to weight it towards what people voted in during a normal election. So people always weight them to the last election. But this election's pretty different because 2012 we had Republicans not turning up for Mitt Romney. We're not going to have that with Trump. Like, as much as people talk about these never Trumpers, if you look at the polls, over 90% of Republicans are voting with Trump, where about 82% of Democrats are voting with Hillary. Like, Hillary's losing a lot more Democrats than Trump is losing Republicans. The opposite problem that happened with Mitt Romney versus Obama. So, like, even with all these never Trump people, Trump doesn't have all these establishment people voting for him. Those people aren't votes. Those are just the party leaders. The voters are with Trump. Like, Trump even got the record GOP votes in history while running against 16 candidates. While they even stopped voting in a couple states because they decided, like, hey, if we have voting, then they're going to vote Trump. We're just going to have a caucus that, like, the convention caucus instead. And in a convention, they have party leaders.
Yeah, Colorado rules said they had to count like off of a straw poll, like who would get the delegates. So, but they said like, well, it doesn't say we have to have the straw poll, so we're just gonna say Marco Rubio wins, or was it Ted Cruz?
It was Marco Rubio, I think. Yeah. Or actually, I think Ted Cruz won that one. Rubio won the other conventions, but Cruz won that one because that was when Rubio dropped out.
Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking
Rubio would have won it though. And if Rubio wasn't running, Jeb Bush would have won it. That's how conventions work, people. Conventions are just the people the party leaders like win.
All right. So that's all the topics we had. You want to end it here?
Yeah, I think we should end it here.
We're done!